It all started when someone first punched a shark in the face. Among all the various anomalous groups of interest monitored by the SCP Foundation, there are those that are considered to be threats towards the Foundation and its long-standing mission of containing and researching anomalous phenomena. These include the highly dangerous Chaos Insurgency, a paramilitary splinter group that defected from the Foundation and now seeks to destroy their work. Then there's groups like the Children of the Scarlet King or the Church of the Broken God, murderous cults and deranged religious organizations that worship dangerous anomalous entities from other planes of existence. The Selachian Beast, however, is one of the few groups of interest that is not considered to be an active threat to the Foundation. Instead, it's more of a source of comical absurdity, often known as simply the Center, or under the abbreviation of SPC. They are more commonly referred to by their full title, the Shark Punching Center. SCP Foundation research has delved extensively into the operations of this particular organization and made a number of unusual discoveries surrounding their operations. First and foremost, the function of this group, as their name suggests, is purely to punch sharks, while the SCP Foundation's goals are to capture and study anomalous creatures, artifacts, locations, and concepts, as well as occasionally applying SCPs in their operations. The SPC instead focuses on seeking out and developing any anomalous means that they can use to punch sharks in the face. The Foundation had also discovered that, as also implied by the group's name, that the Center is an alternate version of their own organization, existing in a universe with an entirely separate history, where the greatest danger to humanity is the threat posed by sharks. The SPC are devoted to punching sharks, or enacting other acts of violence against anything or anyone who resembles a shark. Despite being an alternate universe's version of the Foundation, the Shark Punching Center is said to lack the same brutally efficient organizational structure of their anomaly-containing counterparts. Instead, the running of the SPC is a lot smaller in scale. One could consider them to be a homesprung group, or just a collection of random individuals whose lives all share one sole purpose: to punch sharks every day. Those operating on behalf of the SPC have made it their lives' work to develop the most efficient and extreme methods to achieve this goal, and have managed to achieve significant success in their ongoing battle against marine life. One such method developed by the SPC is a project under the designation of SCP-001. Much like the Foundation's own categorization of various SCP-001 proposals, the Center has a similar system in place when it comes to SPC-001. In order to deter knowledge of the true SPC-001 from falling into the hands, or fins, of shark sympathizers, several falsified files exist under the same designation. These decoys, according to the SPC's own security notice, are protected by a, quote, squalito-hazardous murder doodle designed to cause immediate facial pummeling in any unpatriotic wimpioids attempting to put their scrawny little mitts on our super-secret stuff. Or, to translate it into terms that the Foundation would use, a memetic kill agent preventing any unauthorized access. This would seemingly result in anyone viewing SPC-001 without the correct clearance to be punched in the face. Among these proposals for SPC-001 is one that seems to have proved highly effective in their ongoing quest to punch sharks. An advanced form of experimental weaponry, this SPC-001 apparently applies various fields of arcane manipulation into increasing the combat prowess and overall physical strength of SPC personnel. In other words, it's a way of using magic to be better at punching sharks. Specifically, SPC-001 revolves around applying two different schools of magic. First and foremost of these being metallurgy, the manipulation of the properties of metal, including using arcane methods to alter the physical and chemical behavior of metallic elements, or compounds that contain traces of metals. The second of these arcane fields involved in SCP-001 is that of thaumatology, otherwise known as the performing of miracles. The exact construction of SPC-001 weaponry remains unknown. However, it is confirmed to be relatively easy to produce and simple for the Center personnel to operate. Additionally, it requires little in the way of maintenance in order to remain functional, and is also portable. What has been well documented by the SPC is the function and effects of these experimental weapons. Upon activation, SCP-001 will generate an ecto-kinetic energy manifestation in the shape of a large fist that can then be used to strike at sharks. Attacks deploying these weapons have contained enough sheer force of unbridled hatred behind them that the strikes are able to permanently and fatally KO shark targets, or in Foundation terminology, terminate them. The effectiveness of SCP-001 at allowing Center personnel to carry out their prime directive to punch sharks is highly impressive. According to their own documentation, the weaponry far exceeds the effective range of an average member of personnel's pugnalistic ability, which in turn keeps them safe from retaliatory attacks by sharks. In addition, SCP-001 weapons are exponentially more powerful. However, the main drawback of the deployment of this magically enhanced method of shark punching is that implementing it is an intensive drain on the Center's limited resources. They are expensive. As such, any knowledge of these devices is kept secret from those within the Center without adequate clearance. Personnel who aren't permitted to access Tubular-Class information are to be K.O.'d if they so much as ask about SCP-001. The initial deployment of SCP-001 occurred when a member of the Shark Punching Center, Justine Everwood, lost her preferred combat extremity, her right arm, in a fight with a shark. This led her to be selected by fellow members of the SPC for testing of SCP-001. According to the Center's own unique hierarchical structure, Justine had been granted a clearance level of Bodacious Brawler, and was thus permitted to attend a briefing on the SCP-001 weaponry project, including its intentions and functionality. After this point, she received an anomalous augmentation in the form of a bionic arm. Directly following the surgical procedure to install this implant, her new prosthetic limb was upgraded by SPC experts to include an SCP-001 augmentation in the form of a cannon. No SPC member becomes an expert in hand-to-shark combat overnight, especially after having received an augmentation of this caliber. So naturally, the next stage of testing came in allowing Justine to practice using her new implant. Accompanied by fellow SPC personnel, Dr. Summerman and Elias Knock'em-Dead Shaw, Justine Everwood underwent an initial test of her new arm and its SCP-001 capabilities. Presented with a target dummy in the shape of a shark, Justine was told to stand the equivalent of a few feet away, rather than get close. It is worth noting, much like the rest of their operational language revolving around the sea, the SPC measures everything in nautical miles. At first, Justine seemed dismissive of the idea of fighting at a distance, arguing that she'd need to be closer to the target in order to punch it, even with her still operational left arm. Instead, Dr. Summerman instructed her to simply focus on thoughts of punching the shark, while keeping her new augmented right arm raised and pointed at the dummy. Meanwhile, Elias Knock'em-Dead Shaw filmed the SCP-001 test on a cell phone, but was later reprimanded for recording in portrait mode, not landscape. With gentle encouragement, Justine began to think about punching the shark target with such force she'd stop it from smelling blood for a week. Conjuring up the hatred that she and the rest of the SPC shared for sea-dwelling mammals, she started becoming agitated at the number of teeth the shark had, filled with rageful thoughts of knocking them out. Then her thoughts triggered an activation of her arm's SCP-001 augmentation, causing a fish-shaped energy projectile to fire from the prosthetic. It crossed the opposite side of the room and obliterated the target dummy, reducing it to little more than destroyed fragments, much to the surprise and excitement of Justine, Shaw, and Dr. Summerman. Following such a successful preliminary test, a number of further field developments of SCP-001 were arranged. Justine was sent out with one of the Center's sea patrols, a unit designated P-1221, to sail into waters that were known to contain a high population of sharks and similar Selachian species. During the first of these numerous outings, Justine and the Sea Patrol encountered a nurse shark, a species not generally considered to be aggressive and that usually swims away from humans. Occasionally, some have been known to exhibit aggressive behavior, especially when threatened, with some nurse sharks attacking swimmers unprovoked, biting with a vice-like grip that is powerful enough to inflict serious injury. Most adult nurse sharks typically weigh around 60 kilograms. Using SCP-001, Justine successfully exploded this nurse shark. During another field test of the weaponry, Justine and the Sea Patrol would later encounter a pygmy shark, These are the second smallest subspecies of shark, with females measuring on average only 10 inches and males usually less than 9 inches. While they are fierce predators to their typical prey, primarily shrimp or lanternfish, the smaller size of these sharks normally renders them largely harmless towards humans. Justine also exploded the pygmy shark she encountered. The exact same outcome was achieved when Justine used her SCP-001 augmentation against a blue shark, another relatively unaggressive type of shark known to often approach divers and swimmers, but normally out of curiosity or in search of food rather than to attack. An adult blue shark weighs on average 110 pounds. However, Justine was able to dispatch one of these with relative ease, thanks to SCP-001. In her additional notes on the field test, she remarked that she'd never get tired of her newfound ability to explode sharks. A similar expression of the Shark Punching Center's profound hatred for marine mammals was expressed when Justine also exploded a bottlenose dolphin, devil ray, and coral reef shark. During one encounter, however, the fish-shaped projectile was deflected away from Justine's target, only to hit a passing tuna and cause the fish to explode. This target had been a wobbegong, or carpet sharks, that swim close to the seafloor and mostly feed on smaller fish like anchovies, sardines, and tuna, shellfish including crabs, or mollusks. Given the wobbegong's somewhat unusual appearance, Justine wasn't even sure if the creature she'd used SCP-001 against was even a shark. While at first the effectiveness of the anomalous shark-obliterating weaponry against non-Selachian creatures had yet to be tested, Justine proved her new weapon was more than capable of eliminating other targets, especially humans. When confronted by activists belonging to an animal welfare group known as Are We PETA Yet?, Justine was able to effectively reduce the activists to little more than a fine mist, with little bodily remains left behind after she used SCP-001 on them. Having learned that her anomalous augmentation could be used on human targets, Justine was noted as looking forward to bringing the fight to those on land advocating for the SPC to stop punching sharks. Among these organizations were SharkX, Wilson's Wildlife Solutions, Are We PETA Yet?, and the Serpent's Fist. However, the effectiveness of SCP-001 seemed to diminish somewhat throughout extended use. Attacking a goblin shark, it took Justine several shots to dispatch the creature, while later she struggled to successfully land shots on a killer whale. When sent out to kill a great white, Justine struggled to find the same enthusiasm she had once had for punching sharks, and through inaction allowed the creature to escape. When assigned on a mission to hunt and kill a megalodon, Justine refused, and was submitted for a psychiatric evaluation by the SPC's equivalent of the SCP Foundation researchers, the Center Poindexters. According to the results of her evaluation, Justine's hatred for sharks and other Selachian mammals had dropped to 90%, 30% lower than the average for SPC personnel. After learning of her poor scores, the Cowabunga Committee, the center's version of the O5 Council, requested to conduct their own assessment of Justine Everwood. During this meeting, Justine assured the committee that she would never trust a shark or anyone who sympathized with them, and would gladly punch one when she saw it. But as her test results indicated, she no longer felt as motivated to punch sharks as she once had. Justine admitted that since receiving her SCP-001 implant, the task of killing sharks no longer felt the same. It had become too easy, and as a result, Justine felt her heart wasn't in it anymore. Believing she had become too reliant on SCP-001, Justine was assigned to return to basic Selachian pugnātorial engagements, beginner classes for punching sharks, in the hope that returning to her roots would help motivate her to punch sharks again. A fist prosthetic was used to cover the barrel of her SCP-001 cannon, and she was instructed to focus on improving her traditional combat abilities, without the use of advanced weaponry. However, things did not go according to plan. After underperforming in several exercises, a training exercise was scheduled to help Justine regain strength in her left arm, which she attributed to her underperformance. Hoping to strengthen it during the training exercise against live shark targets, Justine subsequently had her upper left arm injured by another shark bite. Before one of the SPC's marine fighting teams, the center equivalent of the Foundation's mobile task forces, could intervene, Justine activated SCP-001 and blasted another large fish-shaped energy projectile at her shark opponent. As she had anticipated, the target exploded. Contrary to her earlier statement after first receiving the new weapon, Justine really had grown tired of blasting sharks. Following this disastrous training event, Justine tendered her resignation from the Shark Punching Center. During her exit interview, she spoke with one of the center's human resources personnel, Nigel Masters, about her decision to quit. Justine expressed that she'd grown inescapably bored with punching sharks. She described being fitted with SCP-001 as like having all the power in the world, enough to make any shark or anything explode just by looking at it. The godlike power of the anomalous weaponry had made her feel like the challenge had been removed from punching sharks. Having the ability to use SCP-001 meant that no shark could pose a threat to her. Where Justine had joined the center to engage sharks in one-on-one hand-to-fin fights, being able to blow them up without so much as batting an eye lost its novelty. Eventually, she had stopped hating sharks and just started to feel sorry for them. And that was what caused SCP-001 to become less effective over time. The weaponry was designed to channel the user's hatred for sharks and their will to fight them. Without it, it was like wielding a gun with no bullets. After signing her release form, Justine Everwood was admitted to the amnesia-inducing area of the Shark Punching Center. The SPC's commander used the center's equivalent of amnestics, a baseball bat, to wipe Justine's memories of ever punching sharks. Now go check out SCP-001 Sheaf of Papers and SCP-1449 Dreamtime Whale Shark for more.